This is the opening of the regular scheduled meeting for Norton Conservation Commission for January 13th, 2025. It is now 6:31, and we begin with the obligatory preamble. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 bill extending several COVID-era policies and programs by allowing virtual meetings to continue from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025, this meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the end of this agenda. Members of the public attending this public hearing/meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by raising their hand virtually or pressing *9 if participating by phone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Norton Cable website, www.nortonmediacenter.org, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
So we have a full board tonight. Participating is myself, Julian Kadish, Dan Pearson, Mark Fernandez, Tama Vest, Paxton Hoschel, Lisa Carosa, and Joe Carvalho. We have John Thomas, our director, and I'm presuming Megan Harrop, our assistant, is also participating. Our first item of business is meeting minutes, initially November 25th. And I have no comments. Anyone have any comments? We had a full board on that evening as well, so everybody can vote on those minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of 11/25/24 as written.
Second.
We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Dan. All those in favor, beginning with Tama and Mark.
Aye.
Aye. And Joe and Lisa. Aye.
Aye.
And Dan and Paxton.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye as well. That motion carries. And our next set of minutes is December 9th. We had just 4 of our regular members participating, Mark, Dan, Joe, and myself. So any comments? I have no comments on it. Looking for a motion to accept or modify. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Joe, seconded by Dan, to accept the minutes of December 9th as submitted. So Dan and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. And Mark, and I'll throw in an aye. Aye. And so Tama, Lisa, and Paxton,
Abstain.
assuming you'll be an abstention. So we have, next item is fire department proposed water safety training. John, maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, so the fire department approached me probably around Christmas time and reached out and asked me some questions on what they can and cannot do within Norton Reservoir. And I guess they're looking to do some, I guess, scuba diving training for some certification requirements. And one of the things that I guess the fire department was looking to ask and inquire upon was if they could potentially put a shell of a vehicle in there in the reservoir temporarily and use that for training purposes as well. I told them that I'd talk with the commission about it. Obviously, that's just the shell of the vehicle, but I guess it's part of the training exercise that they need to be able to, I guess, provide surety that they can get people safely out of a vehicle if there was any sort of potential vehicle that would go into a water body. So that was one of their questions and inquiries. Obviously, there's some questions and things that need to get ironed out with that. Obviously, we don't want to have an active engine or anything like that with potential leaks and fuels and things of that nature. But I think just the shell of the car, it's just the question of how is it going to get in and how is it going to get out is more of the question that they would pitch to the Conservation Commission. So I'm bringing it up. I think that next step would be for the fire department to come in, maybe the next meeting or the next meeting after that, to kind of have a discussion about it. But I just wanted to bring it up to the commission so they're aware of kind of what they're looking to do.
Is
Yeah,
it deep enough to put a car in and to scuba dive?
So there are some sections of the reservoir that are around 7 feet to 9 feet deep. We do have the bathymetric survey, so that would be part of us kind of figuring out where would be ideal, and obviously how do we get there? Can we just push the car in and take it out in some areas, or do we have to actually get some sort of crane apparatus or something to do that? And that's more of the question. And I just want to make sure that it's the easier of the two for this kind of undertaking. And if it's feasible, great. If not, then it's something that we'll have to look at doing somewhere else.
yeah, the deepest area is right next to the dam. But getting something in and out in that area is logistically
It's going to be a
difficult.
challenge. It's going to be a challenge.
They would have to scope out by scuba diving to find an area that can accommodate a car. But allegedly, there is a spot that was excavated, not with a permit, but it was excavated, and it's kind of a hole, kind of around the curve. I don't even know where it is, but they would have to try to find it, and maybe they could drop a car in there. But I don't know. It's pretty shallow almost everywhere.
It was just an ask, so I was going to bring it to your attention, and I think that's definitely another round of discussion with them, and see kind of where we can go from there.
Yeah, I almost wonder. I mean, Chartley, I think is deeper, but again, access is not necessarily easy.
Yeah, we're very limited over at Chartley.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, they may need to scope out in advance to see if there's actually a place that they can put a car. I mean, are they intending to submerge it completely? Is that part of the issue?
Yeah, they're going to submerge it completely for training exercises and then remove it. So we'll still have the tires. What I gather from them, they'd like to roll it in and then roll it out if they could potentially. But
I don't know. They might have to push it a long, long way.
no promises. No promises, I told them.
Yeah.
They can easily move a car in there on float bags. That's a common occurrence on recovery and different things. So if they can get it into the water and get within a foot, they can float bag it to wherever they need it.
Okay. Well, if anybody has the tools, I imagine they do. So we're ready to move on to the funds transfer.
Correct.
So this has provoked discussion in the past, and my interpretation is that the Wetland Protection Act is an unfunded mandate, state mandate. In other words, the towns are responsible for administering it, but we do have the option to collect certain funds. And my view is, yes, it's reasonable to give some of those funds back to the town because of the cost of administering that law, which is not funded by the state. So I'm in favor of the amounts that we have given in the past. And do they have a specific ask?
The amount is consistent with what they asked last year and the year before that, so it hasn't changed.
And what is that amount?
$5,000.
And what is our total fund currently?
$44,000.
Any comments from anybody?
Can you just remind me, sorry, who's asking for the funds? What's the transfer for?
The transfer is for well, it's been like this for a while, but it's to pay for the increases in salary for the administrative and also director. So that's what it's being used for.
John, I think in the past, though, it was just a transfer to the general fund. We had no
It is.
idea where it was going, right?
It is a transfer
Okay.
to the general fund, yes. But it
But
is
is it
got,
specifically
it is.
earmarked for salary?
yes.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments on this? If not, we can consider a motion to yes or no this request.
I'll make
I
a
just wanted
motion.
to clarify real quick, that it's 40,000 left in the wetland protection fund. I just wanted that for the minutes,
Oh, and not 44.
just for the minutes. Thank you.
So I will make a motion to authorize the transfer of funds from the Conservation Commission to the general fund to be used for conservation salaries.
Second.
Microsecond there to Paxton for the second, but motion by Lisa, seconded by Paxton. And Tama and Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Joe, Lisa, and Paxton, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Dan?
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. The motion carries. So we have two previous hearings that had been continued to January 27th, just bringing that to the attention of anyone attending, namely the redesign and presumably remake of the 123 and South and North Worcester Street interchange. That's for January 27th. And 280 West Main Street is a response to an accident of sorts, a correction of a violation for King Barber. That's also been continued until January 22nd. Do we have any public inquiries or department updates?
No, but you need to vote right now.
Yeah, we
to
make a
conti-
vote.
You have to vote to continue those projects.
So that vote didn't happen.
No, it hasn't. What I'm doing now is I'm just basically putting them ahead of all the projects that are currently active. So I need you guys to vote.
So, okay, so
on those.
they had been continued until today. And now those have requested new continuations.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then for file number 250-1168, which is the 123 Worcester Street interchange, request to continue till the 27th.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Joe, seconded by Mark. So Tama, Mark, and Dan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Joe, Lisa, and Paxton?
Aye.
Abstain.
Yeah, abstain as well.
Okay, and I will throw in an aye, so the motion carries with 2 abstentions. And our next continuation is King Barber, 280 West Main Street, also requests till January 27th.
What's the file number on that one?
That is,
It doesn't, the DP has not released a file number on
Oh.
that project yet.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to continue the file with no number.
second.
all right, we have a motion by Dan, seconded by Lisa for continuation of that hearing for King Barber. Again,
And I
Tom,
apologize. I abstained because I was gone the last meeting, but since I reviewed things, I believe I can vote in favor.
okay, so noted, and Megan, you'll make a note of that, I'm assuming. And then on this motion for, it's for King Barber, I believe, and it's Tama, Mark, and Dan. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And it looks like Dan's a yes. So Joe, Lisa, Paxton,
Aye.
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 and I'll throw in an aye, so that motion carries. So we are now up to 171 West Main Street. It's an ANRAD request. And it is my understanding that this was continued only because we had such a long time frame between meetings. So it's my understanding we can go ahead and close this hearing and then take up the ORAD later. Is that your understanding, John?
Well, they had to revise the plans and add the perennial stream on the plan, which they did. I went out there to take a look at the flags. I'm comfortable with the flag locations as they're proposed. But they were requested by the commission last time we spoke to revise those plans, and they gave us that information. So
That's correct.
I'm confident that in the work that they've provided is sufficient enough to potentially issue an order of resource area delineation for this project as of right now.
Any questions or discussion from the commission, or for that matter, anyone else? So we are okay closing this hearing then.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for file 250-1161.
Second.
We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Tama, to close this hearing. So Tama, Mark, and Dan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And Joe, Lisa, and Paxton?
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye. So let me just take a little bit of a left turn here. Megan had brought up that for those of you that have missed any hearings, you have to sign the Mullins. What's the proper term? The Mullins.
The Mullins form.
It's a form.
Just the Mullins form. Okay, indicating that you've reviewed the information for the hearings you missed, and so the choice is either you can abstain or you can review that information and then you can vote on these. So we're going to be looking at the ORAD later on this hearing. Next is file number 250-1163, which concerns the golf course, 400 Arnold Palmer Boulevard. And again, it's my understanding that all of the requested information had been submitted, and that we can consider closing that, or is there any additional discussion that is needed, John?
I know that Beals and Thomas, on behalf of TPC, provided additional supplemental information on the 16th to us. That information was provided for the members to take a look at. I looked at it, and I don't know if any of the members had any questions, but from my standpoint, I don't see any, real, I guess, concerns from my end, but I'll leave that to the members if they have any questions.
Any questions or discussion? And we can open it up to the entire audience at this point. Again, any questions or discussion? And if not, we can entertain a motion to close.
I'll make a motion to close.
Second,
So we have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Tom to close the hearing for file number 250-1163. Tama, Mark, and Dan, how do you vote?
aye.
Aye. Aye.
Joe, Lisa, and Paxton.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries. And again, we have an order of conditions to consider later. Next is file number 250-1166, continued hearing for 257, 259 Mansfield Avenue, which is the training facility for electrical workers. And again, I believe they have submitted everything that was needed. And we do have a draft order. So any further discussion on that project? If not, John, do you have any comments?
No, I just want to let the members know that there was more information that they provided. But as we discussed, we weren't able to close last time because of the 21-day window. But we had a discussion with the engineer at the time, and I think we were all set back then. So, we should be all set to close.
All right, so we can entertain such a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for file, where are we here? 250-1166.
Second,
Second.
We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Tama for closing the public hearing. So Mark, Joe, and Dan, how do you vote?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries. And again, we later have an order to deliberate on. So next item is now into new public hearings. Determination number 1142 concerning 36 Pleasant Street, concerning the work for repair of an existing septic system. Do we have a representative of the applicant?
Good evening, Michael Trowbridge, Hutchin Trowbridge Associates. I represent Mr. Thatcher.
You probably can share your screen and bring up the plan. You may have to, and it's kind of obvious on this plan, but just orient us where the resource areas are.
Certainly, at the top of the screen, we have a blue line, which is the flagged wetland line. We have two red lines, which are both the 50 and the 100-foot buffer zone from the BVW. The yellow line is the 12-inch silt sock that we are proposing, which is the limit, which is outside the limit of the 50-foot buffer. The actual system itself, the distance to the wetland is 64 feet. This is a very narrow, flat lot in the sense where the septic's going. We don't have a lot of area to work, but the area that we are working is an existing stabilized grassed area. I think one of the things that John was looking for is over the years, I think a chicken coop or a shed had been added. So just for historical purposes, we went out and located everything that was out there. There's a boat that's being stored towards the back of the property that's just there. We have a couple sheds and the chicken coop. So everything is shown on the plan.
Yeah, this was mostly administrative. Obviously, we get these plans and stuff that are for septic repairs that come in front of us, and a lot of these properties don't have records that are updated. So this is more of an administrative kind of snapshot of what we're looking at for this property. So this will update our conservation records because we don't have anything for this property.
And this is a system that I think you noted, I might be confusing it with something else, but you noted it was installed before the inception of the Wetlands Protection Act. Is that correct?
The-
It's accessible, so yeah, that would
Yeah.
have been well before, the wetland protection.
Yeah. And it's in the outer portion of the buffer. The area in orange, the rectangle in orange is the new installation.
That is
And
correct.
The tank is the new installation and the cesspool is adjacent. That looks like it will be
Yes.
decommissioned. All right, any questions from anybody?
Michael, do you have any idea when they expect to do the work? Just concerned about wintertime erosion prevention.
I would imagine sometime probably within the next 8 weeks. I don't think this is something that's gonna be in the next couple, Lisa.
Okay, could you just add a note, perhaps, come up with some erosion prevention stabilization measure if they do it? We just don't want it exposed, during the spring rains and stuff. So,
Certainly.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And if not, this is a determination, so we can consider a negative determination since the plan is kind of explicit as to what how the construction is going to be done. So unless there are further questions, we can consider a motion to close.
I'll make a motion, to close public hearing for file DET 1142.
Motion by Lisa, seconded by
Second.
I think that was seconded by Mark. Mark, Dan, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 And Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye. The motion carries. I think it's most reasonable to consider a motion right now with regard to negative or not. So if anybody wants to offer that potentially -3 motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Joe. Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 And Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries. Thank you, Mike. I don't know if you have another one.
Thank you and Happy New Year.
You bet, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, good night.
Good night. Next item is file number 250-1137 concerning 299 South Washington Street. A project that has been before us before, requesting an amended order of conditions concerning downsizing the planned building. Do we have a representative of that applicant?
Yes, Rich Riccio from Field Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant's ARE Inc., they're all renewable energy, an outfit looking to purchase this property and construct a warehouse building and move their operations to this location.
Is it possible that you can share your screen or?
Yes, I'm trying to get to that right now. Is it not working though?
Maybe your computer is a teenager.
Yeah, let me, John, I don't know, do you have the ability to pop open the PDF I sent? Because I don't have the buttons on the bottom of my screen right now.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me just pull it up.
I don't know what happened here. Oh, no, I got it now, sorry. I'm good. All right, can we see the screen?
We
Yeah.
can see, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, great. This was originally a 53,000 square foot building that was proposed on this lot. As they've been developing their building permit plans, the buyers of the property, they have ended up determining the 40,000 square foot building would fit what their needs were a little better and also provide a little more turning movements and such for the trucks behind the building for the loading area here. So we cut the building down by 96 feet. We've reconfigured some of the drainage piping, but nothing has changed with regards to the sizing of any of the stormwater management features. The limit of work has remained the same from what was previously approved. And we're looking for an amended order of conditions to reflect the new building, the record plans with the new building footprint. The only other minor change that was also made to the plan was the original, if you look at the plan now, I have the utility sheet up. The original plan had this sewer pump station at the front of the building. We're moving it back to the back corner of the building. That will be pumping to a private pumping station on the Commerce Way property under an existing sewer use agreement that covers this lot. So the erosion control plan, which I had submitted to John as well, remains unchanged from the previous approval. And like I mentioned, we're basically looking for an amended order to reflect the new building footprint.
All right, John, any comments on that?
Oh, you're on mute, John.
I didn't have any that came out to me, but if any of the members have questions,
All right. So we can open it up to the commission and potentially anybody in the meeting.
So can you go back to the layout plan for a second? So you decreased the size of the building, and did you increase the pavement?
Yeah, actually, I can you see the color up of the original approval plan?
Yeah.
This was the original plan, so where my hand is here, this portion of the building up to it's about 96 feet is going to be removed, and that's going to become pavement instead of building in this area here. This was all impervious area that was proposed to get into one of these two subsurface recharge systems. There actually may end up being a slight reduction in the amount of impervious with this sloped area here, but the stormwater management sizing remains unchanged from the previous approval.
Yeah, no, that's understood. It's just the treatment. So did anything in the treatment side of it have to change because of the additional? I know it was impervious, right? But it was roof, and now it's coming into contact with pollutants. So did you have to do anything for increasing the size of a water quality unit or whatever you're using out there?
We did add the original design had one double catch basin grate because we were able to grade this all the way to the back. We are proposing a second double grate in the low spot here. The storm scepter that we're using for the pre-treatment in advance of the recharge system is sufficient to provide the pre-treatment needed for the additional impervious area.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Yep.
Yeah,
Was that size to accommodate additional? Yep.
Yeah, we did
Okay.
check that. Yep, so that's sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions? If not, we can consider closing the hearing. And again, we have an amended order to consider later. So
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for file 250-1137.
Second,
motion by Lisa, seconded by Tama. Dan, Mark, and Tama, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 And Paxton, Lisa, and Joe? Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries. We've closed the hearing. We'll consider the amendment later. We are now at file number 250-1169, 222 Bay Road, notice of intent for modification of a sloped backyard. Do we have a representative of the applicant?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Ryan Sherman. I'm the homeowner.
Okay. So John, is there a way we can bring up a plan, or I don't know, Ryan, are you able to bring up a plan or not?
Yep, I can share it.
All right, give me 1 second, Ryan. Let me give you.
I have it too, John, if you want.
All right, I'll give you the hosting capabilities. You're all set.
So when the plan is here, just again, orient us as to where the resource area is, and because it, by my eye, there's not much of the work in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, no, you have that correct. So the purple-ish dash line is the buffer zone, where the buffer zone border starts, and that the brown line shows where the leveling and grading would take place. So much of it takes place within the buffer zone, but there is a portion that is in the buffer zone.
So the house modification is outside the buffer zone, it appears.
That's correct. Yeah, that's where an existing deck is. So that would be a addition, but we wanted to have it on the plans just to be transparent, but that doesn't approach the buffer zone.
So I'm assuming that you'll have to bring in a fair amount of fill
Yes, that's correct.
and stabilize it because the slopes seem to be fairly significant. And so are you considering hydro seed after it's been shaped?
Yeah, the plan is for grass. We haven't gone that far of how we do it, but yeah, likely hydro seed, I would imagine.
Well, I haven't seen the site, but it looks like the slopes, I mean, particularly if this is done in the spring, it looks like the slopes would not hold up well in heavy rains unless it's stabilized in some manner.
Yeah, it's a pretty steep drop off.
Yeah.
If
Probably
you
a
were out,
probably a 2-to-1.
if you were out there.
Leads me to my question. So just, what are you actually gaining? Because it really doesn't look like you're gaining much level area. So you're gaining a very small area between the back edge of the driveway and that first contour, and then you're, right? That's it.
So it's compared to the size of our usable yard now, we have a couple young kids. It probably doubles, if not exceeds doubling the size of our usable yard, just for them to run around and play out there. So in at least the plans we understand now, the leveling can be done gradually enough where there can be certainly some stabilization, but not a full, at least the proposal that we've been given, not a full retaining wall, so that we can do it fairly economically and gain some significant yard space.
So you just want to make sure that whatever they propose, so it looks like it's probably a 2-to-1 slope, which is as steep as you can get prior to putting in a retaining wall, right? That's effective, economical, but you just want to make sure that holds and doesn't erode. That's going to be the biggest challenge. And we won't be able to sign off or close out until it's, fully stabilized and we see no evidence of erosion. So you just want to maybe keep that in mind. And I don't know if there's a note on the plan anywhere that says that the area, all disturbed areas will be loamed and seeded, or.
I can zoom out. I'm not sure if that was on the plans.
Okay. I mean, is that an agreement that you have with I don't know who's going to do it. Is it a landscaper or?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a landscaping company.
Okay. So we can add that as a condition, John?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just so you're in agreement with it and it's, not gonna be the first time you see it. It's gonna be as part of the permit condition that's going to say that it's gonna be stabilized with loam and seed and grass seed. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, we'd want to use it with seed, with grass anyway, so that's fine with us.
Is that area grass now, or are there other plantings in it?
So the area that we would be leveling and grading is mostly just dirt and underbrush, a few large trees, but no grass now.
All right. Any further questions from commission members or anyone in the audience?
I think the only outstanding item is, Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, but this one's still pending a DEP number, is that correct?
Hold on one second. Let me check. I believe it has one.
Okay.
Yes, we have 1169 as the.
Okay, so
the-
this did receive something, okay.
But we don't have, I don't recall that we have a orders and conditions.
It did receive one.
Okay, so potentially we could, if the commission's in favor of it, close this evening and issue an order for the next meeting, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there are no further questions, we can consider a motion to close.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for file 1169.
Second.
So we have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Dan, for closing the public hearing. Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
Aye.
So Lisa, I think you were on mute, but it looked like an aye.
Yeah, that was an aye. You couldn't hear me? Sorry.
No, didn't hear it, but
Okay.
I'll put in an aye too. Motion carries, and we will consider a order of conditions next meeting. So thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Have a good evening.
You bet.
too.
Last new hearing is termination 1141, 298 South Worcester Street. Proposed work is for conversion of an existing deck into an addition. Do we have a representative?
Yeah, yes, the homeowner.
Okay, so, John, I assume you're not up for sharing your screen, but if
Well-
you are, we can give you those, but it looks like John is gonna give us a plan.
Okay, great, because we have it up, but wasn't sure how to share it.
Okay, so we can now see your plan.
Yeah.
And
Basically what it is I have an existing deck now. And the plan is to make like a 3 to 4 season room out of it. And it's gonna be the same configuration as far as the layout of the deck, which is fairly small, but I think we're adding 6 inches lengthwise. And that's really the plan. So we're not putting in, a basement or a cement slab or anything like that.
so are you doing any excavation, like for sonotubes or anything like that? Any work in the dirt?
I believe they're gonna put the
Helical piles.
helical piles in for the foundation.
So those are things that are screwed into the ground.
Correct.
That's right.
With a piece of, small, I think it's a hand-held piece of equipment, but I'm not sure.
Craig was
So-
hoping to be here from Rim Engineering, and I think he talked to you last week about it.
Yeah, he did. He did talk to me about this project last week, and I informed him that I did not not see any sort of issues with the work that's being proposed. It just had to go through the administrative process with the Conservation Commission, and that's why we're here this evening, is to kind of talk about it through this permitting process.
Right, great.
Yeah, if there's that amount of, a relatively minor amount of dirt disturbance, perhaps that sediment control is a little more robust than it needs to be, but I'm gonna leave that up to John to decide.
They, he's got a dry well listed on the plan. So I'm assuming that he's gotta use a small mini excavator or something like that to dig it.
Yeah, and he informed me that he's gonna put those sediment controls in because he needs to have that area for access. So that's why they're putting the sediment controls on that side.
Okay.
John, it's almost like he should shift it and take it from the street side and wrap it around where the dry well is, but it's not gonna be doing much up to the point of the garage. So what I would just suggest is to take it from maybe the corner of the garage and then go past where the dry well is. That's all, just to capture that. Not adding anything to it, just shifting it.
Right. No.
Yeah, and I mean, that slope, it looks like it's a fairly gentle slope as well, so.
Very flat.
It's relatively flat, yes.
John, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if these helical piles won't drive in this particular area and there has to be ground disturbance, would there be an order of conditions or a change?
For something of this magnitude?
Correct. So if we had to do sonotubes with Bigfoots or a frost wall, dug with an excavator.
I would say, I mean, if you're putting in a potential foundation, then it probably would be more of a notice of intent application for this. But since the ground disturbances is going to be mainly insignificant, I would say an RDA would be, the commission should be amenable to an RDA for this type of project.
But my only question is when you go to drive a helical pile, from experience, sometimes you just can't get them in.
Right.
And then what happens in that particular instance?
Well, I guess in that instance, the contractor would be calling us and letting us know that they were unsuccessful with driving in the helical pile. Is what do you suggest we should do? And and if they have to come back with a different design or different kind of, I guess kind of foundation, kind of apparatus, however they're going to do it, then they'll have to come back in front of us.
Okay.
That would be a change from what was approved and what is currently in front of us. So any sort of change for any permit requires them to come back in front of us.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, I can't see it morphing into something that requires substantial excavation. So maybe we could find, well, I'm going to leave it to your judgment, John, because do you know anything about the soils in that area? Is it very rocky and ledgy, or is it?
I mean, my understanding is that if they're proposing helical piles, it's probably pretty manageable. But I'm not the one that I didn't look at the soils for this one.
And how about the homeowner? Do you have any?
From past experience, below the loam layer is beautiful bank gravel in many parts of it. So I would think that if they couldn't put the helical in, they would probably put sonotubes.
Yeah, but it sounds like they're going to succeed with the helical. Any further questions or discussion from anyone in the meeting? If not, we can consider a motion to close, and this sounds like it would be appropriate for a -3.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for file DET 1141.
Second.
So we have a motion by Lisa and seconded by Dan for closure of the hearing. So Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, and an answer to your question, about what a -3 is, that's a note on a form, but what it means is, this will be an approved, project, assuming it is carried out according to plan, and it just happens to be item 3 on the form. And so it's a negative determination, which means you do not have to file a notice of intent. So, you will, actually, there's no appeal period with a, determination. Is that correct, John?
To my knowledge, no, I've never had a request for determination appealed before.
Okay,
So
so,
what is the process afterwards when it, does it become, the permit gets approved and within a certain amount of time and then he can proceed, or how does
yeah,
that?
I mean, if you're under a real pressure of time, you can probably pick it up in the office in a couple of days. But in my experience, basically you get the permit sent to you in the mail.
Oh,
Yes,
perfect.
we will be
Yeah.
issuing the permit this week.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right, awesome.
All right, very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
So we still have to consider, the determination, decision for 1141. Anyone want to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to issue a -3 for file DET 1141.
Second.
So motion by Lisa, seconded by Tama, that this be a -3. Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. I take it that's an aye, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, and Lisa, Paxton, and Tama?
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, so motion carries.
I thought I heard him say.
All right, so our next items are, orders of stack here. So first one is, the ORAD, Order of Resource Area Delineation for 171 West Main Street. Single page, ORAD. Nothing unusual. Any comments about that? If not, we can consider a motion to approve the ORAD as drafted.
I will make a motion to accept the ORAD as written for file 250-1161.
Second. We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Mark, to accept the draft ORAD as submitted. Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Lisa, Paxton, and Tama?
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries. We have 400 Arnold Palmer Boulevard, file number 250-1163. There are some items in yellow which are specific to this, but essentially everything else is our, the yellow had to do with findings. And everything else except for the, in 37D, providing final mitigation affidavit and copies of monitoring reports. Everything else is standard. So, any comments, questions about this one?
So John, I just had a question. Are we going to require the work, the impact work or the construction of the, I think it's a footbridge, and the mitigation area to be witnessed or observed by an environmental monitor?
That was I guess that's up to the commission. Do you guys want to do that? At least, I mean, I find it would be standard if they're doing the report, they would need to have somebody there. And, you know, from my experience dealing with large box corporations like this, they usually have a wetland consultant there to do it. But if we want to call it out specifically, we definitely can.
Well, the monitoring report is not for work. It's for the mitigation area. So that's the difference, right?
Sorry.
So,
Apologies.
yeah. So sometimes when we have a project that requires work in the drink, as we call it, we have somebody from the engineering company on the wetland side, like Sarah, I think it was Stearns, overseeing the work to make sure the contractor does not screw up and follows the plan. I would recommend it in this case. It's not for the duration of the project. It's just when they're installing those piles in the wetland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when overseeing the replication area installation. Because sometimes that's at the discretion of the wetland scientist. To where to place plants, where to leave high points, where to create low points. So it makes the plan come to life, if you will. And I just think it's really important to get it right. Maybe have somebody out there.
So do we want to add, sorry, I don't have it up right now, but I think it's condition number 6. I think it was a finding. Do we want to add something along that the installation of
Yeah, we just have oversight shall be provided by the applicant's engineer and wetland scientist.
right?
Oversight. It's kind of loosey goosey. I think
So,
we should, I think
you
we
wanna-
should maybe say during installation of the boardwalk piles.
So I'm gonna say during installation of the boardwalk piles.
Yeah, and the creation of the wetland mitigation area.
Creation of the wetland mitigation
The
area.
work be overseen by a wetland scientist. An engineer can't oversee that stuff. It's gotta be the wetland scientist.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, just to make sure that it's in conformance with the permit. So that's just a rewording of the first part of 6, that's all.
Okay.
That's all I had.
All right, any other questions or comments on this one?
Do we want to use the term supervised?
Yeah, or overseeing. Oh, you wrote oversight, yeah, so, yeah,
I'll write overseen. Okay.
okay.
I'll write both with a backslash. They can use it. So they're
Okay,
however
that covers
they
it.
want. It's better to use 2 terms than just one.
Yes,
Some people get confused, right?
exactly.
All right, any further comments on this one? If not, we can consider an order to yea or nay.
I'll make a motion to accept the order of conditions as written and discussed for file 250-1163.
Second. Motion by Lisa, seconded by Paxton. Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
Aye.
So Lisa, was that an aye?
Oh, yes, sorry, aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. I see I jumped over section 4 there, file number 250-1063 for is that a request for a COC or any, request for a COC.
It's just for the town. Don't worry about it. We're all good.
Well, I mean, we can deal with that.
So I went out to with the assistant super and we took a look at the site. All the wells are in. The whole area is stabilized. It's been like that for a while. It's just more administrative for them to close out all their past permits. So
Well, we can do it with a quick motion. Anybody want to venture that?
I'll make a motion to issue a full COC for file 250-1063.
Second.
Who was that? Was that Dan?
Yeah.
The second. Okay. So motion by Lisa, seconded by Dan. Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, the motion carries. So we're up to the orders for file number 250-1166. That is the training center on Mansfield Avenue. So we have the findings page, but everything else is standard. Any questions about that?
So John, I had two comments. Is there any way to quantify the disturbance to the 0 to 25-foot no disturb zone? Did they quantify that?
I don't think they did as part of the project, but we can definitely prior to the pre-construction meeting, we can require that they provide it.
Okay.
You know, I guess I'm just trying to think how we could get that
But in
information
this-
to us.
It's just a part of the findings, Julian. It's just a document. It's so someday when we go back, we can say, we already allowed you in there and we already allowed you X square feet. That's all. It's because no one's ever gonna remember. looking at
Right,
it.
but in this circumstance, they actually removed impervious surface from the 25-foot. So they reduced involvement. So I don't know how you're gonna quantitate
Well-
that, other than
Well, no, they're
saying
in
there had been.
it. They're in it, which we usually don't
Yeah.
allow. Yeah, that's all. I just wanted it quantified. So if you
Right.
could maybe say that they can provide the total square footage. I don't care if you put it on by hand on the plan afterwards, once they give it to you, just to document it.
Right, I can ask them prior to the pre-construction meeting to put it on the plan. Right now,
Okay.
I probably wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
But I definitely can,
Okay.
for the impacts, yeah.
Okay. And then just to clarify, so we write where the alteration is for every resource area with the exception of bank. So I think we just need to add a sentence that said there's no impact to bank. No
Correct.
direct impact to bank is proposed. That's all,
No.
just be consistent.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
See, John, there are people that actually read this stuff.
Well, it's good that people do. I'm actually very pleased to hear that some people actually read this. So, because I do spend some time doing these, even though they're templated.
Well, I think about it from the perspective of my client. Is it clear? Is it doable? Does it make sense? So,
Am I setting myself up for some headaches later? That's the question, right?
exactly.
Are we ready for a vote on the whole package as modified?
Yep, I'll make a motion to issue the order conditions for file 250-1166 as discussed.
So moved.
We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Joe, for approval of the modified order of conditions. So Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 And Lisa, Paxton, and Tom.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries. We have one remaining, which is the amended order for file number 250-1137, and it's really only the first page that got amended with the project findings. Item 7 was struck and an amendment box was put in place. And that should suffice unless there are further comments or questions.
So we didn't need to add any conditions, John, correct? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the conditions were the same from what was previously done, like Rich explained, is that, you know, he swapped the impervious for other impervious, which is gonna be parking lot now, so there really is no net change. But I think he covered that the catch basin is all gonna be directed to that storm scepter unit, which will be able to be treated by the existing or the proposed stormwater devices, which have remained unchanged.
All right. So if there are no further comments or questions about that amendment, we can consider a motion.
I'll make a motion to issue the amended order for file 250-1137 as written.
Second.
We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Joe. Dan, Mark, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Lisa, Paxton, and Tama.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye. And that seems to conclude the agenda. Remember, if you missed meetings, to go to the office and sign the Mullins form so that Megan can keep the records up to date. And
Thank you.
do we have any other items?
Nothing to report as of right now. Bunch of potential projects coming down the pipeline, but nothing has really come in as of yet. But there is a lot of potential development coming in for 2025, so be on lookout. Redevelopment as well.
And I'll say that I think all of our hearts go out to Los Angeles, and we can hope for the best.
Certainly. Do you know they're hiking up rents on some of the people who are desperate to find homes. So it's kind of it's
you know, don't get me started with
okay.
what is happening with the oligarchs destroying this country, because that's what it amounts to. But
We're supposed to be getting a first-hand account. The headquarters for a company is in Pasadena. Apparently the fire was like a block away from our headquarters, which was kind of scary. But a lot of employees lost their homes, so we're waiting to hear from the mothership, probably tomorrow, what's going down in Pasadena for real on the streets.
Well, this is going to have a very negative impact on potentially the whole economy for a bit, simply because we don't have the resources to deal with this kind of monstrosity, catastrophe. And particularly when we have leadership that is delusional about what the actual cause of these things is, but that's another unfortunate discussion. So I'm ready to sign off. Anybody else ready to sign off?
Yep. Make a motion to close. Oh.
I was gonna say, but before we go, Megan, it wasn't 2.5 hours, just so we know. It was only 1 hour and 10 minutes, so go have fun
Did
with.
somebody guess what it was
She-
going to be?
That was impressive.
She thought it was gonna be a 2.5 hour meeting today. so.
Why?
It looked daunting.
Well,
To tell you the truth, Megan, I thought it was also going to be somewhat longer than it was.
No, I guessed 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. So we're good. I
I
got 20
did
minutes of my life back.
I did my puppy upper effort to keep it moving.
Well,
Thank you.
I will say, and we do a good job running this. We're running this whole entire ship. Everyone that's involved. So thank you very much. Hope you all had a great New Year.
You
All
too.
right.
You too. Take care.
All right, take care, guys.
Yeah.
Bye bye.